Hi, everyone. My name is Mickey Hudson, and thank you for joining me on today's Facebook Live, where we are going to discuss mySewnet super designs. So come on in quickly, have a seat, and we're going to dive right in. So I'm going to change my screen so everybody can see. So come on in, have a seat. Here we go. All right. So mySewnet embroidery software has many different features depending on the level that you're on, but we are going to be playing with super designs. And super designs can be found in all of the levels except for the basic. So on the basic level, you can change color, you can export, that's about it. So we're just going to go right on in, and we're going to come on over to the super designs. So I am working in Windows format, and on the Windows format, we have all of the tabs at the top, and you'll notice that at the top, we have super designs. Now on the Mac side of things, we do not have the tabs, but we have these nice little icons here, and this little guy here is your super designs on the Mac. All right. So over here, you will find that there's categories. This is great if you want to do a quick search, you know exactly what you're looking for, but there are all kinds of categories to choose from. And I'm just going to go ahead and show you visually what some of those categories are. So we have animals. We have, whoops, I moved way too fast. We have applique. We have borders, we have buttonholes, we have corners, we have cartoons, we have etc. We have effects like twin needle and felting, and wing needles. We've got emojis. We have Encore designs, etc. There's so much to choose from. Whee! Okay. But what I'm going to do is I am going to come up here back to animals real quick. And I do want to kind of point out just quickly that on some of your, depending on what version you have, you may or may not have all of the icons or the designs that you're seeing here. So for instance, if you own a box set, some of these updates upgrades are here, but they are not in the box set yet. So there will be a new box set available for you, and that you will have your upgrades there. But so if you see something that you don't have, I don't want you to panic, because it's just either you're on a different level or you have the box versus the subscription. Okay. But I'm going to come over here to the dinosaurs. And I'm going just to select this dinosaur. Now, some of you may have seen this already, but I'm going to go ahead and just select apply. And he's going to bring my dinosaur down here. Now, one of the things about a super design that makes them so super okay, I'm getting a message that says my screen is overexposed. Is that better? I'm not sure. Bright and a bit out of focus. We have been working on this big time. So let me try changing my display. Sorry, Speedy Karen, I'm working on it. I want to do. No, I don't want to do that. Display resolution. So let me try 180p. Is this any better? Now the letters and stuff like that will be a little out of focus. I'm still working on that. But can you see the design, the dinosaur okay? All right. So we're going to continue on. All right. But I will be zooming in and stuff so you guys can see a little up close what is happening here. All right. But the super designs, what makes them super is that they're what I call PlayDoh. Basically, they're unfinished. They're still kind of digitizable just by changing the size. Let me show you what I mean. So first of all, there's the green tabs here. So whenever you see the green tabs, that means any changes that you make will be made to the design itself. So unlike a design that is set, where you would have to go to modify, these you can do just right on the screen. Let me show you what I mean. So if you take a look at his little fill pattern here, and I make him larger, over here too, the stitch count is 5392, so 5,300 and change stitches. And I'm going to come and drag this little corner, and I'm going to make him larger, and watch what happens to that fill pattern when I let go. You see how that automatically made the change? And up here, it is now 11,000 stitches. So it automatically changed the stitch count. So is everybody kind of seeing that okay? So Amy, if you could watch. But another really fun thing about the super designs, and I'm going to zoom in on his belly a bit more so that we can see a little closer. So here you can see there's a fill pattern here. Another super cool thing we can do is if I right click on this, you can come down here to this fill pattern. So this is a fill pattern here. And so I have a selection of fill patterns to choose from. Here's my number count here. So if I come over to the fill pattern, and I can select fill pattern 2, because that's going to give me that big blue area, I will have all of these fill patterns to choose from. There are over 250 fill patterns to choose from. So it is really, really fun. So one design can turn into just a plethora of different kind of projects to do. So I'm going to come up here and I'm just going to put the stars and I'm going to tell it okay. And you see here where I've changed the star pattern. I'm going to try and change the color a little bit. See if maybe I can get a color that'll stand out a bit more. That was not it. And that one is hideous. So I'm just going to go back to the blue. All right. So we can change the fill pattern. And if you notice, these stars are kind of hanging a little or angling just a bit. I can change the angle as well. So if I right click and I'm going to choose the pattern fill number 2, and I can change the angle, and I actually get a visual right in here as well so that I can see which way I'm angling. I'll go ahead and tell it okay. But now you can see that my stars are more vertical, up and down, side to side. But we have 250 fill patterns to choose from. It is amazing. So are there any questions about the ability to add a fill pattern to this? All right. zoom back out. Well, not that far. Okay. So another thing that we can do with the super designs is we can resize them and it's going to automatically redigitize itself. We can change the fill patterns for all the parts of a super design. But we also have up here where it says select style. We can come down here and change to line. So if I change it to line, you can see how it got rid of the fill pattern and it's just going to do the outline. And then once again, right click is your friend. So if you are new to embroidery software and you're new to the mySewnet embroidery software in particular, if you hover around super designs or even the letter tab and just pull something down, right click and play. Right click and just go see what happens. What does this do? That is the best way to learn your software. Because once you get used to playing with the right click and all of this stuff, so many different components of the software work the same way. So it really will familiarize yourself with doing other parts of the software. So here, again, I can come down and I can, whoops, got a little ahead of myself. I can come down here and I can play with the triple stitch. I can change the length of it. I can also type in the number here if I chose to. And it will change the length of the triple stitch or the double stitch or whatever stitch is in here. I have the options to change things. So properties is another place that you can play. I've got a question. That's why I'm pausing. Can the density of each area be changed separately, or does it do it to the whole design? That is an excellent question. So I'm going to come back over to my filled dinosaur, and I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to come to the pattern fill. Number 2 is what we've been playing with. So I can change the density here. Now, when it comes to density, the bigger the number, the more space there is in between everything. But if you look down here, it's also going to kind of show you a little bit. So you can see, you may not be able to see because it's very fine here. But this little bar here is showing lines of just lines. And as I change the number, it's changing the little lines in here as well. And it's showing the spacing. And if I were to go to a smaller number, it brings those little spacings together. So I'm going to go ahead and tell this one, I'm going to make this one 10. So it's quite spacious. And I'll tell it OK. And you can see that it has only changed the density on this particular fill. So the other fills are the same. I mean, are the original fills. So to answer, can the density of each area be changed separately? Yes, it can. I'm going to go ahead and come up here to undo. Now I'm going to, for my Mac people, because I know I do have a few Mac people in here, I'm going to go ahead and show you, a couple of little tips on where you can find your little guys. Where's my dinosaur? See up a little bit more here. Oh, forget it. I'm just going to grab the cute little lion. So we've got the line. Now, when it comes to the windows, you will work more across the top. And when it comes to Mac people, I'm going to go ahead and turn this on so you can follow me a little bit. I want the halo. There we go. So when it comes to Mac people, you're going to work down the side here a bit. So here's where you would change from color to line. Here's where you can change the stitch type, etc. Okay. But your right click will still do it. But on the Windows, you will find it across the top. So all of those controls are all over here. All right. Any other questions about that? Okay. Now, what is fun about this is you can do like a quilt, for instance, with the actual designs, and then you can do the quilting with the outline of it. And then over here with the fabulous film strip, we can even change the order so that this can stitch on top of the other one. Are we excited? All right, I am going to come over to my home key and I am going to select all, and I'm going to go ahead and delete these. I'm going to come back to the super designs and I'm going to go back to select style and select the color. So we are playing with the animals. Let's go to Applique. And there are quite a few Applique designs to choose from. And these are really, really fun. So I am going to pull my little monkey here and I will tell it apply. So here's my little monkey. And again, I can just resize him if I want to, and it's going to re-digitize him very easily. Now, when it comes to applique, the select style is going to change a little bit because we do not want a line drawing when it comes to applique. So I'm going to come down here. We have a satin border and 2 motif borders to choose from. So I'm going to go ahead and click motif border number 1, and I'm going to apply. And you'll see this little critter. So he's a little harder to see. He's great in a classroom setting, but he's not so good on video. So let me grab this piggy. He's going to be a little easier to see, I think. Okay. And I'm going to select line motif border 1, and I'm going to apply. There you go. And I am going to, as soon as my computer catches up, I will change this color to a red so he'll stand out a little bit more. There you go. So you can see how he's got now a motif around the outside of him instead of a satin. And then the third style, or motif border number 2, I call the throwing him into the cactus motif because he looks like he has little cactus prickers on him. But isn't that very cool? So we have quite a few different things to choose from. But if I go to right click, I can play with the fills, even if I wanted to, instead of a satin. So if I wanted something a little different, I could. So you see here where the outline has changed from a satin to a fill. Can all super designs be changed to a line stitching? Most of them can. There are a few exceptions, like applique. I really wouldn't recommend it, but let me select this guy. So I can do my satin column. Yeah, no, he's not going to let me change that. So, okay. There's so many aspects to this that I even forget about. So I'm going to get rid of, my prickly pear there. And I'm going to delete. And I'm going to make this guy a bit bigger. So this guy here with the little pin stitch here, you can right click, and this is the motif line, and it's motif line 1. So when it comes to adding a motif, we have universal, we have the Husqvarna Viking, and we have the Pfaff. So if you are one brand, you have access to the stitches of the other brand. So it's kind of cool. And you can actually create motifs, which we'll probably cover in another Facebook Live. But we can pull any of these fun decorative stitches. Let's do a candle wicking. Let's do a candle wicking 2. There we go. And let's say I wanted to do a candle wicking instead of a pin stitch. If you wanted to do a straight line, I would come and just do one of the machine brands, and you can do a straight line right there and tell it okay, and it'll just do a straight line. So any other questions about that? All right. So very quickly too, again, we will have a Facebook Live on the applique and the embellishment tool. But if you jump over here to applique, you can tell it, oh, I need to select. Oh, come on, don't be a stinker. You can play with your applique fabric. And this is where I sometimes get, because I work in both, let me switch over. Because I work both in Mac and Windows, I will sometimes get confused about where things are. Oh, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. My brain just caught up. So here, because it's still in the super design mode, it still sees it as a work in progress. So if I right click and set as fix as stitches, this is now no longer editable. So you'll see when I right click, all of my little options have gone away. My tabs are white. That means it's set in stone. I can go into the editor and change it. But now what'll happen here is I can select a piece and I can change the fabric. So I can say I want this piggy to look a little different. So the question that came up, I'm going to right click and let it know I'm finished, is can I export for a cutter? Yes. So up here at the very tip top, there is the option to export. Let me go home. Oh, this is why you're a little stinker. All right, so if I export, one of the options that I have, oh, wait a minute. There is a way to send to a cutting machine. There is a way to send to the cutting machine. I wasn't expecting that question, but there is a way to send it to the cutter. So export applique pieces, and I can send it to the cutter. Just give me a moment and it'll come to me where it is on the Windows side, but it'll look exactly like this. So when you export, you can print templates, you can save it, etc. So yes, you can do that. And it'll come to me here. I'm just drawing a blank for some reason. It'll come to me. And if it doesn't come to me during the Facebook Live, I will take a screenshot and send it to you. Oh, here it is. So if you come all the way over to File on Windows, there's Export. And again, it's all the same thing. So thank you. If somebody spoke up, thank you. I do get a little brain freeze sometimes. And I apologize for that. All right. So we're going back to Super Design. So is there any questions about this, the appliques so far, or adding a motif, or changing fabric? We will talk about in another Facebook Live. But just know that you can. So once you have it in stitches, you can come over to Applique and you can select a different fabric, a different color, and you can even scan in your own fabric. So some of the other things that are very, very cool when it comes to Super Designs is I'm going to come over to here where it says Effects. I'm going to delete my little guys here. I'm going to select both of them, and I'm just going to go ahead and right-click and delete. But in Effects, we have felting, we have twin needles, and we have wing needles. But I want you to take a look at some of these things because they're so cool. So I like this little guy here. He's a little swirly. I'm going to go ahead and tell him to apply. And I'm going to go ahead and make him quite large because I'm going to use this guy as a quilting design. So I'm going to grab, why are you being on right? There we go. So I want to use this felting design for quilting. Now, right now, this is felting. I don't want to do felting. I just want to use the design for quilting. Up over here in my color tabs, you will see there's a little icon here for the felting needle. But if I double click on this guy, I have a puffy foam option, twin needles, dual thread through the same needle, which makes me so happy because once upon a time, I was told that I said, can I put 2 threads in the same needle? And I was told adamantly no. So I immediately went home and said, I bet you I can. And I did. So it tickles me to no end that it's now an option. The wing needle, felting needle, and cutwork needles. So all I have to do, this one you may not be able to see because it's a very faint color, but it is highlighted. So I am simply going to uncheck it. And it's no longer a felting. It is now, nope, I want to turn you on. There we go. And it is now just a line stitch. So if I right click, I can change the style here from bold, which is a triple stitch, to light, which is a single stitch. And I can come right click and go to properties, and I can, whoops, not that. Right click and go to my running stitch, and I can change my length of my stitch for my quilting stitch. Now, personally, for me, I like my quilting stitches to be a little larger. But let's say you want it to be 2 millimeter. I go more towards 3 millimeter. But I can change how it looks. So I'm going to change it to 3. And I'm going to zoom in. And I'm going to go to my View tab, which is right above here. And I'm going to say I want to see it in 2D. Nope. I'm thinking of Stitch Editor. Nope. I'll show you it in Stitch Editor real quick. But I can change, but see how light it is? So it's just a single straight stitch, which is perfect for quilting. And I can do that with many of these effects. I can come over here, and this is a twin needle, and I'll apply. So this twin needle is too similar in color to show up. So let me change this color. Hold on. Yeah, this is a twin needle. I'm going to zoom in. There we go. There we go. I forgot I changed it. But see how you can use a twin needle, and one color in each needle will create this effect. All right. If you have a circle of fabric, is there a way to scan it so the machine can sew a border around it? So yes, you can. That is a different topic. But you can. If you have the gold level or the silver or the platinum level, you can scan it into the Express Design. So you can take a picture and then you can load that picture and make it any size that you want. I'm not going to go hunting for it right now, but you can make it any size you want, and you can tell it, I want to do applique or I want to do fill, that kind of a deal. If you have digitizing, which is in the platinum level, you can do it as well. And if you have the platinum level word sculpt, you can create your own designs there as well. So if I wanted to create a new shape, I can create a new shape. Let me, I want to insert, sorry. Yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on this. Oh, stop. My computer is acting up again. So we're going to close you. There we go. I'm going to finish. Let me jump over here real quick. So I'm going to go to Word Sculpt. I can come in here. Digitizing will work very similar as well. And if I come to add, I can add a shape. So I can add a shape in the Draw and Paint version of the Word Sculpt. I can add a shape in digitizing, and I can add a shape or just take a picture and scan it through the Express Embroidery. So Express Embroidery, once again, can be found in the silver level and the platinum level. Okay. All right, are you going to behave now? Nope, it just canceled the whole program. There we go. So just keep in mind that I'm running two versions, two computers on this computer. So I've got a Mac computer and a Windows computer, both on the same computer, which is why every once in a while it has a hiccup. I'm going to go All right, so what needle do you use for dual thread? That's a very interesting topic. So Husqvarna Viking and Pfaff both have an embroidery needle. That's you can get size 75 or size 80, but it has a very large eye like a top stitching needle. So it's got plenty of space. A top stitching needle would also work because it has the eye of the needle is much larger. So that is what I recommend when using 2 threads. You can even do 3 threads if you're adventurous. 4, it doesn't like it so much. It doesn't have enough room. But I am looking for a needle that has a large eye. So the Pfaff and the Husqvarna Viking embroidery needle does, and the top stitching needle does. When merging several embroidery files, is there an option to mask so you can eliminate stitching under the overlapped area? Yes. So one of the things that it does is if I go into, I'm going to close this because I'm going to go into configure. So when you go into configure, I'll show you another way to go into configure, but I'm going to make a change here. And when you make a change to configure, it likes all of the other portions of the software closed. So that's why I did it this way. But I can come over here to export, and here it will select, you can choose how you want it to export. Do you want it to combine your stitches, or do you want them to be separate entities? Do you want to remove overlap? Remove overlap will, so when you remove overlap, that's when you have one design on top of another design that's going to kind of touch a little bit. Remove overlap is going to get rid of this portion that's underneath it. So you don't have extra threads on top of each other. If that is the question, or if that is not the question, please let me know. But I'll show you what that looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that on. I thought I was going to change it, but apparently I'm not. So I'll open this up again. And you do have to be patient when you double click here because it does take a second. And I'm going to go ahead and go here, and I'm going to OK. So what I mean is if I bring in a super design, oh, I've got a great one. So let me come here to the emojis. And you may have seen this little guy on one of those quick videos that they do. So there's a mySewnet has a little quick video where they take the emoji and they take his glasses and put it on something else. So they put it on another emoji. I am going to come over here and put it on a spool of thread. So in the silver and in the platinum levels, we have the ability to modify. So what modify means is if I come over here and I touch modify, whoops, yes, I can, from there, I'm going to get rid of everything I don't want, because all I want is the glasses. I'm going to come and select just the glasses. And I will go ahead and right click and cut, or I can just come up here and cut. And now I'm going to select all visible, and I'm going to delete. Now, if I go back to home, I can paste and bring the glasses on down. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select all. And then if I come over here to tools, I can combine selected. So now they're combined. So if I come now to design player, Or actually, I'll show you Design Player, but let me make him go a little faster for you guys. But you will probably see the space underneath the glasses will not stitch out. See there? So you see how it's now eliminated that portion? So there won't be double stitching. Okay. So I'm going to delete him. Okay. Come back to all. So any other questions? These are all really good questions. I get really, really excited. Okay. So I'm going to come back to effects for a moment because I did want to talk about the twin needles and the wing needles. I'm going to jump down to the wing needle right quick. Come here, you little stinker. So if I come down here to this little guy, and I'm going to apply. And these are wing needles. If you are unfamiliar with what a wing needle is, or you're hearing that for the first time, a wing needle is a needle that it has wings. It's a very wide needle, and it is designed that as you stitch, those wings will leave holes in the fabric. So there's heirloom stitches and stuff like that. It does have that texture that has little holes to create design. And that's what the wing needle does. And so I'm going to zoom in so you can take a good look at that. And if you'll see here, these little dark spots that you're seeing are kind of imitating those where it's going to leave those holes. So those are where you'll see the holes, and the stitches will kind of pull everything nice and snug. But what we can do is, just like everything else, we can change this because this is still a super design. We still have the green tab, which means we are able to play with it and digitize it. So I'm going to come on over here and I'm going to right click and I'm going to change my motif line. And let me just change it to something else. And we'll tell it okay. And you see how it's changed those? And if I right click and I can do the triple stitch, well, I'm not going to do that one. I'm going to do my tapered motif. Now, a tapered motif, let me talk about that real quick. If you take a look here, you will see that this portion, this stitch, is larger than this one. And that is what the tapering motif is. It is going to taper down. So when I right click and I say select the tapered motif, there are two to choose from. So again, I can come and I can change. I'm going to change it to something completely different. So you see here it is here. And I can change to this tapered motif, which is something different. I'm going to do bean stitches. Those are so cool. If you've never stitched with the bean stitches before, oh, it didn't like that. Well, trust me, bean stitches are cool, except on the heirloom techniques. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to select the tapered motifs too. And let's use one of the decorative stitches. Well, let's just use that guy. And you see how he changes? So there's a lot of things that we can do to play with. Now, one of the reasons that I believe that the bean stitch didn't work, I'm going to come over to home, is because this is selected still on a wing needle. But just like on the felting, if I double click, I can turn that wing needle off. And now it's going to be a regular stitch. So instead of being a wing needle stitch, it's now a regular stitch. And again, I love to play with the twin needles and stuff like that. So I'm going to go ahead and do, let's do a dual thread. So on the twin needle and on the dual thread, when you select those, you will get a color here. You see the colors here. And there's also a color here. That's the second thread. So if I come over here, I can change my thread color to something else. And then you will see the illusion happen on the screen. Isn't that cool? All right, so I'm always running out of time. I get so excited. I talk about so many things. But one of the things that I really want you guys to know about the super designs is, I don't know if you can guess already, but one of the number one things about the super designs is that they're versatile. There are over 2,000 super designs built into the software, the silver, gold, and platinum level. And as you can see, with just a right click and playing around, we can turn those 2,000 designs into an infinite number of designs and techniques and whatever you're looking for. It is so exciting. So one of the other new features categories is Encore. And this works really well with the Encore feature that silver, gold, and platinum have as well. So you can come here and apply, and I'm going to make this just a bit bigger, and I'm going to zoom in. And you can change the color. I'm going to make him a brighter color so you guys can see. So if you have any final questions, now is the time, because we are almost out of time. So I'm going to zoom out. And Encore is a fun place to play. So I have shapes, lines. I can go around the hoop, etc. I have all these shapes to choose from. And then I can preview. So I'm going to just preview. And I can move. I can make it larger or smaller, or I can ellipse. So these Encore designs are fantastic. Now, any design will work with Encore, but there is a whole category of Encore designs that are designed specifically for the Encore. And again, we can right-click and we can change these pattern fills just like we can with anything else. I'm going to make this larger so you can see what it is I'm doing. So here you can see in the center here, I did change the fill, and I'm going to change the satin column, and I can make these more fuzzy. So I want to remind everyone that the next Facebook Live is Wednesday, August 17th at 2 p.m. Central Time, and that is going to be with Wendy Owens, and she is going to be discussing stabilizers. So if you've ever had questions about stabilizers and what kind of stabilizers work best for what kind of embroidery, that's going to be an excellent one to sit in on. And then there's another Facebook Live on Thursday, August 18th at 2 p.m. Central with Karen Charles. And she's going to be showing the Grand Dream hoop, which is the large 360 by 260 turnable or 360 by 350 turnable hoop, as well as other specialty hoops. And just so you know, if you are one brand or the other, you can cross-pollinate and watch, because a lot of the stabilizer works for any embroidery machine. And then the hoops for Pfaff and Husqvarna Viking are interchangeable. So the hoops that she was going to be talking about on August 18th can be used on the Husqvarna Viking as well. So either way, you can watch all of those. What is the purpose of the bullseye things in the center of the design? That's an excellent question. Let me see if I'm on the same page as you. So you mean this little guy here? I'm going to make him a little smaller, and I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. So the little bullseye thing, if you're talking about this little dot right in the center, if you notice there's square nodes around or square handles around the outside, and there's one that is a circle here. This circle will allow us to rotate. And if you notice, he's rotating right on that center point. But if I take this guy here and I can move him, and now if I rotate, he's still going to rotate around that center point. So this is really helpful sometimes when you have a collection of designs and you're trying to pinpoint and put something exactly where you want it. So I want this guy, well, let's put something here. So I want this guy to not rotate on the center. I want to kind of position him in a little different place. So I can rotate him around that center point. Or I can rotate him around this center point. So I'll move him again. And I will rotate. But see how I can adjust and rotate? And then again, having this film strip is the best thing ever because I want this to stitch under this. So I want my leaves and my stem to stitch under my flower, which means I have to stitch him first. So now he's going to stitch out first and be underneath my flower. So does that answer your question, Kristen? Is that the bullseye thing you were referring to? Okay, great. Well, once again, I would like to thank everybody for coming. And if there's no further questions, but I would like, before you leave, to give me just a little bit of feedback. It was brought to my attention that my intro is very long, so I shortened it up today. But just let me know if it was too short, if you want it to be a little bit longer, or if you like having a long intro, because we are trying to accommodate what you guys want. And so I only hear it when I hear it. So please let me know if you need time to come in and sit down, or if you're one of those who just want to get going. I would appreciate just a little feedback on that. And I do really, really, really appreciate you guys coming. Thank you so much. I will be watching the comments for more questions. And I hope you are excited to go play with your super designs and show me what you guys make. And I will talk to you all later. Bye.